Welcome to the podcast de Philippe. We're diving into something pretty cool today. Google's back in the robotics game with their new AI system, Gemini.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a fascinating move, especially after their whole journey with Boston Dynamics.
Yeah, it is interesting to see them jumping back in. This time, though, they're all about the software side, the AI brains for robots made by other companies. It seems like a strategic shift, focusing on what they're really good at, AI.
Right, and it makes sense for them to play their strengths.
So let's get into it. What makes Gemini so different? We're not talking about your typical robot programming here, are we?
Not really, no. We're moving beyond those pre-programmed instructions. It's about giving robots actual reasoning abilities.
Reasoning abilities, okay. So less like a set of commands and more like actual thinking.
Exactly. Think of it as a shift from robots just following orders to robots that can analyze, make decisions, adapt. And there are two main versions of this Gemini thing. Gemini Robotics and Gemini Robotics ER.
ER.
Yeah. It stands for Enhanced Reason.
Okay, so two different flavors of Gemini. What's the difference? What makes the ER version stand out?
So Gemini Robotics, that one's designed to give robots cognitive abilities. Handling complex tasks, navigating tricky situations, that sort of thing.
Right, makes sense. But the ER version takes it a step further.
Yeah, ER is all about advanced reasoning. So think unpredictable situations. Like imagine a messy room or something changing unexpectedly. An ER robot can handle that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about robots that are good at the same task over and over again in a perfect environment. We're talking about robots that can think on their feet, react to things they weren't expecting.
Exactly, yeah.
Can you give me a real-world example? Like, how would this actually play out?
Okay, sure. Imagine a robot have to get you a glass of water. Now, a typical robot, it might just follow a set path, right? But what if someone suddenly steps in front of it? A normal robot might not know what to do.
We'd probably just run into them, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, exactly. But with Gemini Robotics ER, the robot could analyze the situation like right there on the spot, see the potential for a collision, and change its course, avoid the person.
So it's almost like it's problem solving in a way.
Right, exactly. It's not just about the instructions, it's about understanding the task.
That's impressive. And how is DeepMind, the Google team behind this, how are they bridging that gap? The digital world of AI and the physical world of robots.
Yeah, that's the big challenge, right? They're basically taking that software-based AI, like Gemini, which some people might remember as Bard.
Oh, right.
And they're figuring out how to apply it to real-world situations where robots can interact with physical objects, with their environment. The goal is to connect that software intelligence to real-world actions.
Okay, so it's not just about thinking. It's about acting on those thoughts. Can you give me an example of how these Gemini-powered robots might actually manipulate objects?
Let's take laundry, for example. Imagine a robot folding clothes. Now, a typical robot would have a hard time with that. Fabric, it's all floppy and unpredictable. But with Gemini, the robot can actually analyze the garment, its 3D shape, its material, and fold it correctly. It can even adjust to different types of fabric and sizes of clothing.
That's pretty impressive. So it's not just moving things around, it's understanding what those things are and how to interact with them.
Exactly. It's not just instructions, it's understanding the task. And that understanding extends to other things too, like movement and safety. Gemini robots are designed to analyze their surroundings, plan their movements so they don't bump into things. They're built for safety, especially in those environments that are always changing.
Which is important, right? Especially if we're talking about robots interacting with people in homes and workplaces. But before we dive into that, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about why Google decided to partner with other robotics companies instead of building their own robots. What's the thinking there?
Well, it seems like a really smart move to me. They get to focus on what they're really good at, AI. And they can avoid all those challenges that come with making the actual hardware.
It's kind of like what they did with Android, right?
Yeah, exactly. They made the software that runs on tons of different smartphones, all made by different companies.
So are they trying to become the Android of robotics?
That's a great way to put it. They want to be the brain power behind robots developed by all these other companies who are already experts in building the hardware.
So they're basically letting everyone else deal with the nuts and bolts while they focus on the brain.
Yeah, exactly.
And it looks like they've partnered up with some pretty big names in the robotics world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You've got companies like Aptronik. They're working on this really cool humanoid robot. And then, this is kind of interesting.
What is it?
They're actually working with Boston Dynamics again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the company they sold a while back.
It's like they're coming full circle.
Yeah, but this time it's different. Google's providing the AI, and Boston Dynamics is using their expertise to build the robots.
It really shows how much Google's AI is valued, even by a company like Boston Dynamics. They're already leaders in robotics.
Right, exactly. And it's not just those two. They're also working with agile robots. They specialize in industrial robots. And there's Enchanted Tools. They focus on robots for, assistive care.
So they're covering a lot of ground. Industrial robots, personal assistants. It seems like they're taking a pretty broad approach.
They definitely are. It looks like they're setting themselves up to have a big impact on all kinds of different areas of robotics. But, with all these advancements, we have to think about what it means for society.
Right, definitely. More robots, more sophisticated robots.
Yeah.
What does that mean for jobs? What are the ethical implications? There are a lot of big questions.
It's a fascinating landscape, that's for sure. And it's complex. This integration of AI into robotics, it brings so many possibilities, but also some challenges.
We need to think about how humans and machines will work together, how these robots will fit into our lives. And we need to make sure they're being used safely and ethically.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be asking these questions now as this technology keeps developing. We need to be proactive.
It's a reminder that with every powerful tool comes responsibility.
Yeah.
We have to think about the consequences, good and bad, as we move forward. But on a more practical level, what are some specific tasks that these Gemini robots might be really good at? I mean, we've talked about object manipulation, navigation, but what else?
Well, we've talked about some of those basic things, but think bigger. Imagine robots in healthcare, helping patients, providing care and support, or robots working in dangerous environments, keeping human workers safe.
It's interesting. So instead of replacing humans, maybe they're more like partners?
Yeah, it's this idea of robots working alongside humans, augmenting our capabilities, helping us do things we couldn't do before. It's pretty exciting.
It is. But there's this question that always comes up with AI. Are they really understanding the world? Or are they just really good at following complex instructions? Is there something deeper going on there?
That's a really good question, and it's a tough one. Gemini, it's a huge leap in robotic intelligence, no doubt. But at the end of the day, these robots are still working within the limits of what they've been programmed to do. They can learn, they can adapt, but their understanding is based on the data they've been given, the algorithms they're built on.
So it's not like human consciousness, right?
Not exactly, no. Yeah. But it's still a powerful form of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, for sure. And like we were saying before, with any powerful tool, we have to be careful, right? We have to guide its development, make sure it's used responsibly.
Absolutely.
It's clear that Google coming back to robotics with Gemini, this is a big deal. It could really change the whole industry. And it's not just the technology itself. It's the partnerships they're forming, the potential impact on society. It's all very exciting and thought-provoking.
Definitely. It's an exciting time to be watching this field evolve, and Google is pushing those boundaries, that's for sure.
It really does feel like we're on the cusp of a whole new era in robotics. These machines, they're becoming more than just tools. They're almost like collaborators in a way.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. The line between tool and collaborator, it might start to blur as these robots get better at learning and responding to us.
And this evolution, it makes us rethink how we interact with machines.
It really does. It makes us ask, how will we work with them? How will they fit into our lives? What are the ethical guidelines we need to create as this technology keeps growing?
These aren't just theoretical questions anymore. They're becoming more and more relevant as this technology becomes part of our world. It's exciting, but it's also a time to be cautious and have these discussions.
Absolutely. We need to be informed, we need to think carefully, and we need to be proactive in shaping the future of robotics so that it benefits everyone.
That's a great point. It's been a fascinating journey exploring this whole world of Google's return to robotics with Gemini, their strategic approach, the capabilities of these AI models, the wider implications for society. It's been a great conversation.
It really has. It's amazing to see how far robotics has come. And Google is definitely playing a big role in pushing those boundaries.
So that's it for our deep dive into Google's Gemini Robotics today. It's a development that could change the future of robotics as we know it.
And we've only scratched the surface. Who knows what amazing advancements are still to come?
It's amazing to think about, isn't it? It really speaks to the power of human ingenuity and the possibilities of technology.
It really does.
We want to hear what you think about all of this. Head over to the comments and let us know your thoughts on Google's return to robotics and the potential impact of Gemini. And if you're enjoying Le Podcast de Philippe, hit that subscribe button and help us reach 1,000 subscribers today. It would really mean a lot to us.
Until next time, keep those minds curious and stay tuned for more exciting deep dives into the world of science and technology.
This is Philip, signing off from Le Podcast de Philippe.
And it lets them work with a bunch of different robot designs, try out different applications. It's smart.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right, exactly. They're spreading out the risk, and they still get to focus on what they're good at, the AI part.
It's a pretty clever strategy.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of interesting because this approach, focusing on the software, it actually opens up a lot of possibilities for the future of robotics.
How so?
Well, think about it. If Google can create this really powerful AI that can run on all these different types of robots, then it doesn't really matter who's making the physical robot itself. What matters is the intelligence behind it, the brain.
That's a good point. So the focus shifts from the hardware to the software. It's almost like a paradigm shift in the way we think about robots.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And it's not just about making robots smarter, it's about making them more adaptable. With traditional robots, you had to program them for very specific tasks. But with this AI approach, the robots can learn, they can adapt to new situations, they can even solve problems on their own.
That's pretty amazing. It sounds like we're moving closer to that science fiction idea of robots that can truly think for themselves.
Yeah, it's getting closer, that's for sure. But even with all these advancements, it's important to remember that these are still machines. They're tools that we've created, and it's up to us to make sure that they're used for good, that they benefit humanity.
That's a really important point. We can't just get caught up in the excitement of the technology and forget about the ethical implications.
Absolutely. We need to be having these conversations now as this technology is being developed. We need to think about things like safety, privacy, and the impact on the workforce.
Yeah, it's a lot to consider, but it's also an incredibly exciting time to be witnessing these advancements. It feels like we're on the verge of something truly transformative.
It really does. And, it's not just about the technology itself. It's about what it enables us to do. With these smarter, more adaptable robots, we could potentially solve some of the world's biggest problems.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the robots themselves. It's about the possibilities they open up. It's about the potential to make the world a better place.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important that we approach this technology responsibly, that we think carefully about its implications and make sure that it's used for good.
Well said. So to wrap things up, it seems like Google's return to robotics with Gemini is a major development, one that could have a profound impact on the industry and beyond.
Definitely. And it's just the beginning. I'm excited to see what the future holds for this technology and for the field of robotics as a whole.
Me too. It's an exciting time to be alive. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Google's Gemini Robotics.
It's been a pleasure.
And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and stay tuned for more exciting deep dives into the world of science and technology.
See you next time. Yeah, it's definitely true. It really makes you think about what it means for a robot to be intelligent. I mean, can they really understand the world the way we do?
That's a huge question, isn't it? And one that philosophers and scientists have been grappling with for a long time. I mean, are we talking about consciousness here, or is it something different?
It's hard to say, really, but I think it's safe to say that these robots are capable of a level of intelligence that we've never seen before. They can learn, they can adapt, they can solve problems. It's pretty remarkable.
It is. And it's exciting to think about where this technology might lead us in the future. I mean, we're already seeing robots being used in all sorts of industries, from manufacturing to healthcare. And as they become more intelligent, who knows what they'll be capable of?
Yeah, the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing. But I think it's important to remember that with all this progress, there are also risks. We need to be careful about how we develop and deploy this technology. We need to make sure that it's used for good.
Absolutely. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it.
Yeah.
And we need to be having these conversations now before it's too late. We need to be thinking about the ethical implications of AI, about the impact on society, about the future we want to create.
I completely agree. It's a big responsibility, but it's one that we can't shy away from. We need to be proactive and thoughtful about how we shape this technology. We need to make sure that it serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. And I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into Google's Gemini Robotics. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I think it's clear that we're just at the beginning of this journey. There's so much more to explore and discover, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Me too. It's an incredible time to be working in this field, and I can't wait to see what we come up with next.
And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this exploration of Google's return to robotics with Gemini. We've covered a lot of ground today, from their strategic partnerships and the capabilities of their AI models to the broader implications for society and the ethical considerations we need to keep in mind. But most importantly, we hope we've inspired you to think critically about the role of technology in our lives and to engage in these important conversations about the future we want to build. And if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast of YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and stay tuned for more exciting deep dives into the world of science and technology. This is Philip, signing off from the podcast of Philippe.